As I mentioned, Isler respected nature and learned from it. He said, quote, "When I was a young engineer, I was very fond of these light structures. At first, I was against building because I had seen how it could destroy nature. I was of two minds. On the one hand, I did not want to be part of this destruction. On the other hand, I was fascinated by doing things very elegantly and very lightly. I wanted to investigate thin shell structures." Let's look at Isler's play with nature. We've already looked at his natural forms, his form finding for shells. Next, we'll look at his green roofs. Green roofs are something that's very popular today in architecture, but it's something that Isler started many decades ago. And then finally, we'll look at his play with ice sculptures. This image of a model in shallow water is the image of the roof of Isler's office. His office got too hot in the summer, so his solution was to block off drainage and allow the roof to become a shallow pool. The construction of the roof was a simply supported slab with light pre-stressing, high-quality concrete, and great workmanship, and in this way, the roof did not leak. Over the years, nature took over. Tall grass grew, even some trees, and it's become a marshy area where I'm told you need hip boots to walk on top of that roof. But it served its purpose. It created a natural insulation for his office space to keep the temperature comfortable for Isler to work in. This experience demonstrates Isler's character of playing, but also his expertise in structures. He was able to do this without the roof leaking or even collapsing. His playful nature also comes through in other activities that he does. For example, he has a large train set outside of his house where he would run these trains just for fun. And again, in the winter, he would play with ice sculptures. Now, we can't design reinforced concrete in the shapes of these ice sculptures, but I use this as an illustration of how Isler played with nature to not only become inspired from it, but also to learn from it. So in this ice sculpture teepee, he posts a pole where again he wets a fabric. Once that fabric hardens, that pole is removed. He inflates balloons to create entrances for this teepee or this tent structure. Again, all this looks like something that's very simple to do, but actually it's harder than it looks, and it takes a lot of trial and error also to get it right. In the evening, some lights illuminate these ice sculpture tents, and the neighbors even come out and play with it. Whether it's with roofs or trains or ice tents or concrete thin shell structures, we see Isler's creative and playful nature come out in this creative expressions. Isler, again, studied his shells not only from the technical point of view, where he's in his office designing, making the appropriate calculations, finding the appropriate forms, he's also thinking about the construction, and he's continuously monitoring the shells to learn from them in full scale in real life. In this image, you see Isler on the roof. We say he's there pointing to the limitless possibilities of thin shells. Or maybe he's just pointing to the beautiful view of how his shells integrate so nicely within the nature of Switzerland. Isler's work and character demonstrates virtues and values that are common to all the structural artists that we are studying. For example, creativity takes courage. It took courage for Isler at the IISS Symposium in 1959 to present his work and defend it amongst the giants of his professions. Constraints enable creativity. The idea that he's constrained by space and by architectural programs, but he's able to work within these constraints and still create beautiful structures that are a product of his imagination and also technical competence. Elegance does not need to be expensive. He found a way to build these structures in a way that would be economical. And there was a proper integration of discipline and play in everything that he did. Isler demonstrates that design creativity involves both discipline and play, where discipline is related to quantitative skills and the application of technical knowledge, and play is related to skills such as aesthetic exploration within constraints. In the next lecture, we're going to continue to look at this integration of discipline and play, through different ways of finding forms for vaulted structures.